Jordan Peterson loves to cry. In fact, I'm going to show you a video here breaking down during a recent interview with Piers Morgan.
I thought the marginalized were supposed to have a voice.
It's making you emotional. Talk about that.
Well, God, you know, it's very difficult to understand how demoralized people are. And certainly many young men are in that category.
I thought the marginalized were supposed to have a voice. Jordan Peterson, you're not marginalized. The guy sold a ton of books. He gets millions of views. You know, he's not he's not at all marginalized. And now, as far as demoralized young men, there is a significant problem there. It is true. Now, the thing that is an issue with Jordan Peterson is that his advice to those young men who are marginalized, who are demoralized, is dog shit. It's absolute garbage advice. By the way, it's not centered on how to make you a better person or even how to, land a successful relationship. No, what his advice is centered on the belief that men are entitled to women's bodies and that if you're not getting laid, well, it's because it's not anything that you're doing. No, you're doing everything right. It's because the women's are bad. It's the fault of the feminisms. It's the fault of the transgenders. See, we don't like that. Oh, okay. But in reality, there is an issue, again, being with young men being led astray by so-called life coaches like Jordan Peterson, the Andrew Tates, the Petersons, the pickup artists, right? And they're all over YouTube. And all they do is teach young men to alienate themselves by being absolutely insufferable jerks. I got news for you. You're not going to find a meaningful relationship if you're an asshole. But let's go to more of this video. Take a look.
You've been so controlled today, and yet in that brief moment, you got very emotional. Why?
It's really something to see constantly how many people are dying for lack of an encouraging word. And how easy it is to provide that if you're careful. Give credit where credit is due. And to say, you're a net force for good if you want to be.
Do you believe you're a net force for good?
Net, yes. In all the details, probably not. No one's perfect. So people make their mistakes as they stumble uphill.
Is he a net good? Oh yeah, I'm totally a net good. I think I did right. I'm doing great. Should people struggle? I struggle. You struggle because you had an all meat diet and put yourself into a freaking coma. What is wrong with this guy? Okay, you know what? I think maybe it's easier to ask what isn't wrong with this guy. He's going through some serious things, and he thinks that he is capable of giving good advice? No. And by the way, this whole thing is really about this part of the discussion was about how there was a movie, right? And a character is based in this movie off of Jordan Peterson, this incel person, right? And by the way, here's what Piers Morgan said about that. Quote, they're basically disenfranchised, mostly white men, that's incels, who believe they're entitled to sex from women. Now, Wilde elaborated that Peterson is someone that legitimizes certain aspects of their movement because he is a former professor, an author, he wears a suit, he does wear a fancy suit, and so they feel like this is a real philosophy that should be taken seriously. Morgan then asked about it, and again got that response. Are you the intellectual hero to these people? Morgan asked. Sure, why not? People have been been after me for so long because I've been speaking to disaffected young men. You know, what a terrible thing to do that is. All I do is speak to young men. Is that so wrong? When your advice hurts the men, the people that you were attempting to help, then yes, it is wrong. When your advice hurts women, when your advice hurts LGBTQIA plus people, when it hurts everyone, yes, that's when it's a terrible thing to do. And I'm not saying that young men don't need an outlet. I think they do. They need a positive role model. They need someone that is not Jordan Peterson. And so, no, he's not a net force for good. And by the way, some examples here of some of the horrible things he's talked about. He attacked Elliot Page and called the doctor that did his gender-affirming surgery a butcher. And then for some reason was very focused on Elliot Page's former breasts. That's weird. Why would you do that? He's also, again, helped put the trans community in danger with his rhetoric. Jordan Peterson, he's a bad person. No amount of tears is going to change that. And by the way, let me get to the last issue here. I think it's perfectly fine for a man to show emotion and to cry. I don't find anything wrong with that. I think that's a totally normal human response, and we do need to normalize the fact that men do have feelings. And that, yes, there is an issue with young men not having a positive outlet. But what's not fine is people like Peterson using that emotion to manipulate people. And that's what's going on here. That's what's going on. Now, remember, the incels, they are crying because they demand that women give up bodily autonomy. That they should be forced to give men sex because the men are sad. Oh, look at what you've done to these young men. You have made them sad because you won't have sex with them. Well, you're not required to. I'm sorry, but no, that's an emotional manipulation, and it's very, very messed up. Women are not only here for male gratification. That is not the only purpose of women. Their only purpose is not being a broodmare to incel men. No. If you're going to teach young men that lesson, then you're teaching them the wrong lesson. No, what young men need, if they want to have good, successful relationships, is the confidence to be themselves, to be who they are, to love themselves for who they are, to respect themselves, to respect the people around them, and to understand and respect healthy boundaries, be able to put up their own boundaries. And finally, to understand that women do not owe them their bodies. In the same vein, those bodies are not prizes to be won by acting a certain way, because that is, as well as emotional manipulation, right? Trying to be, the nice guy, right? The classic nice guy. I'm so nice to this girl and she won't have sex with me. Being nice does not entitle you for repayment in the form of sex. No, that's not how it works. Not how it works. Look, meaningful relationships, I think I might know one or two things about those, being in a meaningful, successful marriage for over a decade. Meaningful relationships are built on several things. Again, physical attraction is, yes, it is important, mutual physical attraction, but it's mainly, in my opinion, your personality, your values. You share similar values and you value each other. And gratitude is incredibly important. When you thank someone for doing something for you or for just being there, that's important. If you show that you value each other, then you're going to have a much better relationship with each other. One that is based, again, on mutual respect and caring about each other, caring about their personal, mental and physical well-being. That's important. Now, if you can, actually understand and practice those things, if young men are actually taught that by, good mentors, then you wouldn't need idiots like Jordan Peterson, who will ultimately hurt young men by leading them in the wrong direction.